You can make your way to your seats. We are about to get started soon. Make your way to your seats. We are about to get started soon. Thank you.
America is facing a full-scale health emergency. More than 70% of adults are overweight or obese. More than half are diabetic or pre-diabetic. Chronic disease touches nearly every single American family. This did not happen by accident. It happened because real food was pushed aside, replaced by highly processed products. Junk food became the foundation of the modern American diet, and we're paying the price with our health. But that ends today. We are resetting how our nation eats. Real food is back at the center of the American diet. Real food that nourishes the body, that restores health, that brings back energy, and that builds strength. This is what it takes to make America healthy again. Under the leadership of President Trump, we are reclaiming the food pyramid and fixing a system that's been broken for far too long. Today, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins introduced the most significant change to federal nutrition guidance in the history of this nation. This is the new pyramid, dietary guidelines for Americans, a national reset built on real food.
Good morning. Who is hungry for a new food pyramid? Well, how about it? It's time to talk about school lunch programs, not just putting 6-year-olds on Ozempic. We announced this yesterday at the White House briefing room, and already in 24 hours have had a tremendous response, a national conversation about what kids eat at school boards, in houses of worship, military bases, and in the SNAP program. And we want this conversation to keep going. Today is day 2. We want it to keep going. I want to thank all of you who are here, a lot of familiar faces, who are here because you believed in Secretary Kennedy's vision to put food back in the center of our healthcare system. This is health reform. This is a component of health reform, and a powerful one. It's been ignored for a long time. If you haven't noticed, American nutrition has had a rough last 50 years, driven by bad advice and misinformation from medical dogma, from the establishment, and from the United States government. Today and yesterday, we are setting the record straight, telling people the truth about food. The last 50 years has been dominated by medical dogma, really around one concept, a myopic focus that there was one boogeyman in the food supply: natural, saturated, healthy fats. And if you avoided them, that was the secret to better health. Well, as we kept saying this, the entire food supply moved to refined carbohydrates, ultra-processed foods. And what did the medical establishment do? Double down. Avoid more fat, consume less fat, and it was the same message as we watched a ballooning epidemic that now affects 40% of American kids: obesity, diabetes, other health problems. You know, the propagators of this dogma tried to prove their theory correct in the 1960s. The colleagues of Ansel Keys tried to do the end-all study that was going to once and for all prove that it was saturated fat that was causing our problems in health. A randomized control trial of over 9,000 people, randomizing them to a low-fat diet. And in the end, the low-fat group had higher rates of coronary heart disease and heart attacks. Wait a minute. It's the opposite of what they were finding. They suppressed the data for 16 years. 2 other large studies failed to show in the medical literature. Nobody noticed it. Those in the low-fat group had higher rates of heart attacks. Why? Maybe because when you avoid fat, you have to pound food with carbohydrates, and often ultra-processed carbohydrates stripped of fiber and chopped up. It functions like sugar. We created a generation of children with low protein, high carbohydrates, sugar addiction, and burdened with ultra-processed foods. And what did we do as a medical field? Drug them at scale. Those days are over. We know the truth about food. And when the senior author was asked, 16 years, randomized trial on saturated fat, he said, quote unquote, "We were just so disappointed in the way it turned out." That's not the way science is supposed to work. We're supposed to seek the truth and ask questions, not accept dogma. But nowhere in my medical education was I actually taught the truth. Same for Jay Bhattacharya, Mehmet Oz, and the other physicians, Brian Christine. I was never taught the truth that you can make some forms of skin eczema disappear by changing what you eat, that you can cure most type 2 diabetes by changing what you eat, that you can improve your gut health and mental clarity and memory by changing what you eat. Those are principles that we know to be true, that clinicians have observed, that we just don't hear about. Today, we are setting the record straight. The old system, everything that's going to solve our health problems, is the framework. We are getting back to the root causes of our healthcare, chronic disease epidemic, insulin resistance, general body inflammation. We are addressing the low protein recommendations, increasing those by 50 to 100%. We shouldn't be having protein recommendations in the dietary guidance, as we found when we came to office, that prevent muscle wasting and withering away. We're not trying to prevent kids from withering away. We want American kids to thrive, and we're going to give them the protein recommendations. We really wouldn't be here talking about this with such national support. Even the critics are saying this is one thing they got right. Getting away from the corporate interests. You know, we have a charge from President Trump. Do what's right. That's what we did. Different political persuasions say, you know, when it comes to Bobby Kennedy, I love what he's doing on food. And Bobby, we love what you have done to lead us on food, for being the leader. At a time when social media and affirming news tries to divide, there's a that unites every mom and dad out there in the United States, everyone trying to take care of their parent, everybody who looks at this topic with any degree of objectivity, and that is we need to right the ship when it comes to our dietary guidance and literally turn the food pyramid upside down. Brooke Rollins, you have been the perfect partner in this. And I believe you will go down in history as one of the great leaders forming our food supply in the United States of America. USDA is a huge part of this. So I want to thank everybody who's here. You're going to hear from a bunch of folks, but most of all, I want to thank everybody who has built this message and has broadcast it before we even took this on. That's why we're here today. So with that, I'll introduce our Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Thank you, Robert.
Welcome, everybody, and I want to start by thanking my friend and colleague, Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, who you're about to hear from. Brooke understands that good food policy is good health policy and good foreign policy. Our partnership represents an historic collaboration between HHS and USDA, one that finally aligns the prosperity of our agricultural system with the health of the American people. And when we were sitting backstage here, Brooke was talking about all of the great publicity that we've gotten on this announcement yesterday, which has been extraordinary. And she said it's the first time I've had good publicity. I don't really know how to handle it psychologically. But one voice against us has been the American Heart Association. And interestingly, Marty McCary wrote a book about the war on saturated fats. And I urge people to go and read that chapter to his book, which is called Blind Spots. It's an extraordinary saga, and it is kind of a template for how scientific consensus often orients around one bad study that then becomes the dogma. And that is something that's really bad for you, and yet the scientific establishment, there's a big difference between established science and the scientific establishment. And the scientific, we all know that experts, trusting the experts is not a feature of science. It's not a feature of democracy. It is a feature of tyranny and a feature of religion, not science. In science, you question everything. You know, we were told for not science. Is it all orthodoxies, understanding and that all kinds of concepts that drive the creation of orthodoxies and dogmas around bad ideas. And that in a democracy, we have a responsibility to become the CEOs of our own health, to take charge of it. It's a big responsibility. It's a responsibility people maybe in other countries don't have. But it's something that is a burden that's put on each of us. And we all need to question what we're told. And this war on saturated fats is a really good example. And again, I urge people to read his book, but one of the big villains in that chapter is the American Heart Association, which it was and continues to accept millions of dollars as food makers in this country. And then given us and supported and fortified a dogma that vilified and demonized good food and implicit and bolstered the economics and mercantile conditions of the processed food makers that were providing its funding. And these are the conflicts of interest all of us, Marty and Jay, us and everybody in this agency came in to end those conflicts. sometimes they're getting medical advice from people who have an economic stake in that advice. And we have a responsibility to question that. I'm also grateful for all the people attending today, including FDA Administrator Kelly Loeffler, National Advisor for Nutrition, Health, and Housing, Dr. Ben Carson, USDA Secretary of Agriculture, Stephen Faden, member of the Maha Caucus, Senator Ron Johnson, a huge advocate for us, and Chairman of the House Committee on Agriculture, Glenn Thompson, Senate Maha Caucus Chair, Roger Marshall, another great friend and advocate, House Maha Caucus Chairs, Republican Lloyd Smucker, and Verd Buchanan, Chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, Representative Kevin Hearn, Chairman of the Republican Study Committee, Representative August Pfluger, Chairman of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Agriculture, Andy Harris, and Representative Nick Langworth, and the many executives, companies, and major associations who are here with us today. Today marks a revolutionary change in federal nutrition policy made possible by President Trump's leadership and the work of the Maha moms and public health advocates who demanded reform. Today we are here to celebrate the release of guidelines for Americans 2025 to 20, the most significant reset of federal nutrition policy in history. The stakes are measurable and severe. The United States has the highest obesity and type 2 diabetes rate in the developed world. We spend 3 times more than the European Union on health care. Life expectancy is 5 years shorter, largely due to chronic disease. Our childhood obesity rates are 5 times higher than obesity among children in France. 1/3 of U.S. teens have prediabetes. Over 30, when I was a kid, juvenile diabetes was practically unknown. A typical pediatrician would see 1 case over a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 children who walk through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. 35% are overweight of our teens or obese. 20% of young adults have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. 20%. 77% of military-age children cannot qualify for military service because of diet-related chronic disease. If a foreign adversary sought to destroy the health of our children, cripple our economy, weaken our national security, there would be no better strategy than addicting our nation to ultra-processed foods. It's shocking that our own government helped to drive the cataclysmic changes in our diet. Johns Hopkins analysis estimates that 48% of federal tax dollars now go to health care. The CDC reports that 90% of health care goes to chronic disease that is related to diet. That means that more than 40 cents of every dollar collected in taxes is going to treat diet-related chronic disease. If the United States reduced obesity and type 2 diabetes and heart disease to the level that the Japanese have achieved, we would save $1 billion a year, percent of Medicaid projected long-term deficit, $1,000 per family per year. Current policy worsens the problems. 42 million Americans rely on the SNAP, where common purchases include sugary drinks, candy, and chips. 78% of SNAP recipients are enrolled in Medicaid, and 90% of goes to chronic disease. These incentives, so we're giving the kids chronic disease in the first place and diabetes, and then we're paying for it at the back end in Medicaid. And we're hurting the poorest people in our country, the people who can least afford medical. The damage is real, and it's President Trump has ordered it to end. The dietary guidelines rest on 3 pillars: protein, healthy fats, vegetables and fruits, and whole grains. These guidelines replace the corporate-driven assumptions with common sense, gold standard scientific integrity. These new guidelines will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again. For decades, Americans have grown sicker while healthcare costs have soared. The reason is clear. Our government has been lying to us to protect corporate profit-taking, telling us that these food-like substances were beneficial to our health. Federal policy promoted and subsidized highly processed foods and refined carbohydrates and turned a blind eye to the cataclysmic consequences. Today, the lies stop. The new guidelines recognize that whole, nutrient-dense food is the most effective path to better health and to lowering healthcare costs. Protein and healthy fats are essential today, and today we end the 65-year-old war on saturated fats. Diets rich in vegetables and fruit reduce the risk of disease much more effectively. Grains outperform refined carbohydrates. Added sugar, especially sugar-sweetened beverages, drive metabolic disease epidemic in our country. And today our government declares war on added sugar. Highly processed foods. Highly processed foods loaded with additives, added sugar, and excess salt damage health, and they should be avoided. As Secretary of Health and Human Services, my message is clear: eat real food. If it doesn't come from the ground with water or the air, don't eat it. If it comes wrapped in a package that is clear that the whole thing is a package, don't eat it. Nothing matters more for health outcomes, economic productivity, military readiness, and fiscal stability. The first time the guidelines directly address ultra-processed food and set firm sugar limits in federal procurements, driving significant reduction in added sugar in school meals. I thank President Trump for his leadership and the partners committed to ensuring federal food dollars that support real food and better health. I also want to thank all the extraordinary scientists who I got to meet as a whole group for the first time this morning from the top universities around this country who worked day and night to make this report happen. They really made miracles happen in a record amount of time. The dietary guidelines shape dozens of federal feeding programs, including Head Start. These standards affect 45 million school lunches every day, meals for 1.3 million active duty service members, food served to 9 million veterans in VA hospitals. Today, and Head Start and a lot of other federally subsidized food programs. Today begins the work of aligning these programs with affordable, whole, nutrient-dense food. I'm working with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Marty McCary, to fund and prioritize rigorous nutrition research at the NIH in collaboration with the FDA. I'm also working with my fellow cabinet secretaries across the government to deliver results. This administration is extending an open hand to any stakeholder who wants to work together and fix this problem. I want to thank the many health organizations, not the American Heart Association, but the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, which does not agree with me on a lot of issues. We're suing each other on other stuff. But on this issue, they agree. There's a consensus. And I want to thank them all for partnering with us on this effort. I also want to thank the entire USDA team led by KXXV team led by Assistant Secretary of Health, Dr. Brian Christine, Diamanis, Joe Proenza, Rachel Amarillo, Dorothy Fink, and Michael Bose, who are all indispensable to these guidelines. And I also want to thank my deputy, Stephanie Spear, who worked day and night to make sure that this product got out. And a bunch of other people who gave their lives to this effort over the past 6 or 8 months. So I want to thank you, and I'm going to bring up my partner, my friend, my collaborator, the great Secretary Wilson.
Wow, they have cool music over here at HHS. I like it. Listen, there he is. I think we all need to our feet and give this man, my dear friend, Bobby Kennedy, I'm not sure, there he is behind me, the most rousing round of applause and love and respect and appreciation and support and just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just don't think it can be overstated what a difference maker this man behind me is. And I think we're in an administration of difference makers, but I think he is a giant, and we're all standing on his shoulders. And the sacrifice that he has, in so many ways, that he has endured to get to this point, to literally change the course of history for this country, is true and it's real, and we owe him such a huge debt of gratitude. So thank you, Bobby Kennedy. Thank you. Just so grateful. A couple of quick things I want to say, and then I know we have quite an amazing set of speakers, so I don't want to take too long. I just want to say how grateful I am, what an incredible team this has been. Even Christmas Day, there was some back and forth on New Year's Day. This team has worked 7 days a week, all month since the beginning of last year on these dietary guidelines, down to what color the back of the upside down triangle should look like up till the very last minute, how big the ribeye should be on the triangle, what is actually in the bowl. It's rice and beans, everyone. All up until the last minute, this has been the work of so many hands. The vision and the leadership of Secretary Kennedy and his incredible team, I'm just so grateful for. Talked about the amazing USDAers, my crew over at USDA. Kaylee is up here, our incredible chief of staff with her 3 little kids, including my best friend Conrad right there. It proud. And when I was joking with Bobby, I said, wow, there weren't many naysayers yesterday, which is unusual in both of our worlds. And it just goes to, I think, how extremely important this is, and just what a joy it is. Many reasons it's so joyful to me. I'm a Maha mom of 4 teenagers, a little bit different than the life phase of where the team behind me is, but nevertheless, I have been really working on this and battling this in my own family for a really, really long time. So to be able to be even a small part of this fundamental change just means so much to me personally as a mom. But secondly, to be able to put the farmers and the ranchers of this country back in the middle of what we will do to save America and save Americans' health is just beyond description. I have a couple of them here today. I just want them to stand. I normally wouldn't do this, but Dave Fisher, a beef farmer from Indiana, is here. Dave, I don't know where you are. He has an amazing, he works with 35 farms. They sell to their local school. The school kids get, locally produced food. I mean, this is the way, everyone. Ben Rexing, a dairy farmer from Indiana. How about whole milk back in schools? G.T. Thompson, I don't know, and Roger Marshall, yes. Whole milk back in schools. So A big shout out to our dairy farmers. I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about that from the White House soon. And finally, Edward Barrett, a hog and beef farmer from my amazing state of Texas. It is just beyond, again, my ability to describe in words what today means, what yesterday meant, the opportunity and the blessing of a lifetime to be a part of this effort to fight for our great American farmers and ranchers, and again, like I say, to put them back in the middle of the policy making, to get real food out to America. And listen, you know, I talk about me and my 4 teenagers and the struggles to ensure that that happens, and the beautiful families behind me, including my sister Riley Gaines. I see you back there, Riley. Amazing Riley Gaines and her beautiful new baby girl. But that's a struggle, and there's no doubt. But listen, when you think about the vulnerable communities around this country, those who are living on the margin of their community, those who are just hoping that they can have heat for the winter and air for the summer, and that they can potentially get a healthy meal or two on the table, it is now within reach. Having this sort of dietary nutrition will change, again, the course of American health and the course of American history. But the next step is making sure that these foods are accessible to all Americans, not just Americans with a certain bank account. And I think in closing, I'll say this. It's really important as we prioritize this to note that these foods are affordable, that you can have a meal with pork or chicken or fish, and ground beef is coming down. Ground beef, everybody. Vegetable, whole grain piece of bread with a corn tortilla. You can have all of that on average for $3 a meal, which is much less than what a fast food meal could be or a certain amount of packaged foods. But what we have to fix is how we make these foods accessible. And one big announcement coming from USDA: for every retailer in America that takes a SNAP dollar, our food stamp money, which is 250,000 of them, everyone. So while we do have food deserts, there is opportunity amongst these 250,000 retailers across America. Starting almost immediately, we are doubling the standard, making sure that if they're going to take a tax dollar on behalf of those with the least among us, that they will have twice as many healthy alternatives to choose from wherever those SNAP dollars are accepted of this dietary guideline. Thank my incredible partner, Secretary Bobby Kennedy. I want to thank the incredible HHS team, Callie and Stephanie and the whole team, Dr. Marty McCary, all of the we are moving forward, just the beginning for a new day is yet to come. God bless you. Thank you all. What a joy to be here. I was so excited to introduce her. She is, y'all know, Administrator Kelly Loeffler, who herself is a farm girl, the 28th Administrator of the SBA, grew up on a farm in Illinois.
Your kind introduction. You're such a dear friend, and Secretary Kennedy for the and long and live. Thank you so much. It's an honor to serve together, to serve the American people every single day in this administration. We're fighting every day to make America great and healthy again. We took clear eyes and a sense of urgency. Healthcare was more expensive, sicker. Politicians responded by doing the same thing over and over, but demanding more money to do it, spending more, more, funding the same entrenched interests while outcomes got worse. That is why it's a new day. Under President Trump and under Secretary Kennedy's leadership, we are pursuing an all of the above, America first, all hands on deck approach to make our nation stronger and healthier. On day one, President Trump delivered on his promise to lower drug prices. He struck dozens of deals with pharmaceutical manufacturers that have already brought drug prices down in the country, and they're going to continue to fall. And then, through the working family, expanded health savings accounts, which puts families, not in control of your health care. He's ending a broken welfare system that hands health care dollars to illegal fraudsters that protect programs instead for those who deserve it. President Trump has made historic commitments to innovation, including AI, which is going to improve diagnostics, reduce waste in the health care system, and deliver better health outcomes for all Americans. And with Secretary now focused on innovation and science, no longer politics, and delivering healthier, longer lives. So whether through revised vaccine schedules, better autism research, or much needed new dietary guidelines, this administration is on standing Americans, not big pharma or with big food. The new food pyramid is common sense. It's science. It prioritizes whole, minimally processed foods, that's pretty common sense, and confronts the role processed foods have in making our families, our children, and everyone sicker, not healthier. So at the SBA, we're excited to support the small businesses that help deliver on, help consumers make healthier choices and more affordable. Small generational family farms, like the one I grew up on, make up roughly 97% of all farms in America. So I want to thank our farmers and ranchers because you are the best of America. These producers, along with America's small food producers, distributors, grocers, restaurants, are essential to delivering healthy choices for Americans. So when we align healthcare policy, when we align dietary guidance and economic policy, defining well SBA that small businesses at every turn have a chance to support a healthier nation. So we're expanding access to capital, strengthening local food supply, removing regulations that support deregulation that prevents healthy food from getting into the hands of our families, and removing regulations that have favored big food for far too long. Because making America healthy again is not a single policy. It's a movement committed to accountability, transparency, data, facts, and freedom. And we're also confronting that profits from making America sick. At SBA, we're proud to empower the entrepreneurs, farmers, and small businesses who will make America healthy again. We're proud to invest in those who grow affordable, nutritious food for this country. And we're so proud to join Secretaries Kennedy and Rollins and President in making our country healthy. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, he is the director of the National Institute for Health. Thank you, and God bless you.
Walkout music before. It's amazing. This is a huge day. Let me just start with a very quick story about a research paper I wrote 15 years ago with the most the result ever, which is that if you take sugar-sweetened beverages out of SNAP, kids get healthier. I wrote the paper 15 years ago and I forgot about it because no one did anything about it. This administration, for the first time, under the leadership of President Trump, is doing something about it, and not just on sugar-sweetened beverages, but on the whole food pyramid, fundamentally changing the direction of this country with the new dietary guidelines. It is one of the most significant resets of new federal nutrition policy I've ever seen. And I'll tell you, those 15 years were frustrating because the data were there and no one was acting. The difference in this administration is that we are now acting on the information that's there and changing it because we care deeply about the health of Americans. This moment reflects a restoration of common sense, scientific integrity, and accountability, much of it supported by research at the National Institute of Health. And they represent a clear break from decades of guidance that failed to improve the health of Americans. For too long, Americans were told to avoid protein, avoid healthy fats, rely on carbohydrates, and accept highly processed foods unavoidable. I spent my youth scared of eggs. And then my family introduced egg whites because I guess those were better. Now, eggs are a superfood. You can see where they're on the pyramid somewhere. Nearly 90% of healthcare spending goes toward treating chronic disease. More than 70% of adults are obese or overweight, and nearly 1 in 3 of adolescents are on a path toward diabetes. We can't go like this. New food pyramid, we are making a real dent. These outcomes are not inevitable. They are the predictable result of and nutrition guidance disconnected from real-world health. NIH research has consistently shown that nutrition is a central driver of chronic disease risk. Dietary patterns influence inflammation, insulin resistance, blood pressure, and are at the root of so many problems and diseases, including cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, liver and kidney disease, cancer, cognitive health. If you want to make America healthy again, you have to address the food that we eat in this country. And for the first time in decades, you're seeing real change. Thank you. I'm very pleased to announce also a cooperation into an agreement that we were doing with the Food and Drug Administration for NIH research to work, because it's not enough just to say the science has spoken. There is no such thing as the science speaking. We have to keep doing excellent gold standard science. And so as this change is happening, we're going to make sure it's working to make America healthy. Gold standard research. In this administration, what we want to do is use science for the good of the people and keep doing it and challenge dogmas in ways that fundamentally transform health, and that's exactly what we're doing with these new dietary guidelines. The dietary guidelines reflect science directly and clearly. They prioritize real nutrient-dense food, including high-quality protein at every meal, full-fat dairy without added sugars, vegetables, fruits, healthy fats, fiber-rich whole grains, and yes, even eggs. They take a firm stance against processed foods, added sugars, refined carbohydrates, and sugar-sweetened beverages. For the first time, the guidelines state that no amount of added sugar or non-nutritive sweeteners is recommended as a part of healthy the young children sugars altogether. President Trump's leadership and Secretary Kennedy's direction, these guidelines recognize that healthy fats are not the enemy. Adequate protein is essential for growth and metabolic health, and that certain individuals with chronic disease may experience improved outcomes with lower carb diets. This is evidence-based science. Finally, the guidelines matter because they inform nutrition standards across a whole wide range of federal policies, including school meals, military food systems, SNAP, WIC. The NIH's role has been to generate the rigorous scientific evidence that helps policymakers understand how diet influences health, and we'll continue to do that with continued gold standard research. The science is strong, and it continues to demonstrate that improving diet quality is essential to improving the health of Americans, and thank you for your time. I want to, before I go, introduce Secretary, I want to introduce Dr. Ben Carson, who is the National Nutrition Advisor, who came out of retirement so that he could help. Dr. Carson, please welcome.
This is so wonderful because this is the first time in my knowledge that we've had separate departments, agriculture, HHS, willing to work together. Marty McCary also, Mehmet Oz, a whole bunch of people who are willing to just settle and work together, not looking for preeminence, but looking for a solution to the problems that we have today. And I just, it's very wonderful to be to work with people who are that dedicated, because it's going to make a difference. You know, it was 45 years ago that the first dietary guidelines for Americans was put forth. 45 years to get our health into the right place, foods that we eat. Unfortunately, we lost our way. And now we see spiking of chronic diseases in adults, in children, and a whole chronic that we've forgotten about real food. We've forgotten about how valuable it is and even what it is. The dietary guidelines were there to point people in the direction of the right kinds of foods. And instead, for the sake of convenience and pricing, we've allowed the nutrition to be taken out of our food and replaced it with empty calories. You see all these fat kids running around. It's not. It's our fault because we're in charge and we need to be putting the. I love it when people say, I don't really eat that much. I just have a gland problem. Have you heard that? They do have a gland problem. It's a salivary gland. We need to deal with that as well as the empty calories. But, you know, as a pediatric neurosurgeon, I was very concerned about the nutrition of the patients, because the brain begins to develop from the moment of conception, and millions of neurons are added every day, billions of neurons a day. Think about that. And the brain continues to develop right into the mid to late 20s. So what are we giving it to develop on? Empty calories or highly nutritious real food? I think we're seeing the result of that. Sometimes I wonder about we see. They're on these man on the street interviews and they ask them the simplest. And they have no idea what you're talking about. You could say, they would. I mean, it has something to do with brain development. We need to be how happening right now with this group of people, not only the principals, but really outstanding staff who've dedicated themselves to getting this done. I've never seen such dedication before, and I'm sure it will pay for us. You know, but when I think about the body that God gave us, it was meant for high performance, not low performance. And if we put the right things in it, it will perform well. It's sort of like a high-powered, probably premium gasoline. You're not going to come along and say, well, maybe if I mix it half and half with water, it'll do well. It'll go, but it won't. And then you say, I don't like the way it smells, so let's put some maple syrup in it. What's going to happen over the course of time? You're going to have to replace the whole engine. The cost of not providing the appropriate nutritious meals for our people does the same thing. It costs us a lot at the end because of the diabetes and all the other things. Had a very difficult case of diabetes, very difficult to manage. He went to Italy, and within 2 weeks, gone. He was staying at a villa. All the fresh foods were grown right product, no processing. 2 weeks, gone. 3 weeks it was back. And it tells us what we need to do. I am glad that we have the clarity and the leadership to get it done. And with that, I want to thank all the supporters. You've noticed there hasn't been a lot of people on the other side. or on any side. This is not a Democrat or health. O'Neill, who is the Deputy Secretary for HHS, former Cabinet Secretary. Can't even begin to tell you how important the Deputy Secretary is. And he's also the Acting Director of CDC.